All right, so today we're going to talk about seasons. You've been outside, you've experienced when some days it's colder, some days it's hotter, some days are longer, some days are shorter. All of those things are because Earth experiences seasons. Why does Earth experience seasons? Because Earth revolves around the sun. Revolution is where it moves in a circular or elliptical orbit around some sort of object. Rotation is when the Earth spins on its axis, but revolution is when it goes around the sun. So revolution is the thing that causes seasons. And, because there's two things, and Earth's axis is tilted on an angle. So Earth revolves around the sun and Earth's axis is tilted on an angle. That's what causes it to experience seasons. We have a diagram here of Earth with its tilted axis at 4 different locations in its orbit around the sun. One really important thing is to know that the Earth orbits counterclockwise. So it orbits to the left. That's going to be really important when we are establishing which seasons are taking place at a given location in its orbit. So we're always going to start here on the left-hand Earth, and you'll notice a couple features on this Earth. The first is up here is a little N. That stands for Northern Hemisphere. So I'm going to actually draw a little thing over here so that we are aware of the different parts of Earth. So up on the top, always, is the Northern Hemisphere. On the bottom, always, is the Southern Hemisphere. There's an eye right there. This angle is a little bit exaggerated. It's not quite that sharp of an angle. It's only about 23 degrees tilted. But so that we can clearly see the tilt, I've drawn it a little bit exaggerated. This solid line that I've drawn right here represents the equator. The equator is the center line that divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemisphere. Us in Texas, in North America, are located in the northern hemisphere. Us. So whenever you get a question that asks, like, where are we located in the northern, what season are we experiencing at like this position, you need to know that we are located in the northern hemisphere. So, because Earth's axis is tilted on an angle, at certain parts of the year, which you saw in the video that you should have watched earlier, certain parts of the Earth experience more direct sunlight and other parts experience more indirect sunlight. When the Earth is tilted towards the sun, it experiences more direct sunlight and it is experiencing summer. So over here at the left-hand Earth, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. So it's tilted towards the sun. Because it's tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere is experiencing summer. So this would be like the very first, in this position, this would be like the very first day of summer, or the summer solstice. And the summer solstice takes place at the end of June. Sorry. This takes place at the end of June in the northern hemisphere. We'll talk about the southern hemisphere momentarily. So this is in the northern hemisphere only. As the Earth travels around its orbit, everywhere in this portion of the orbit, the northern hemisphere is still experiencing summer. And this lasts for about 3 months. As you get down here in the bottom, neither the northern nor the southern hemisphere are experiencing direct sunlight. What they're experiencing is a mixture of direct and indirect sunlight. This is something that we're going to call the autumnal or fall equinox. And the autumnal or fall equinox takes place at the end of September. So we will be at the end of this month going into fall. We're still in summer right now, but around September 22nd, we'll be starting fall. So again, this portion of the orbit for about 3 months is fall or autumn for about 3 months. So moving over here, now you can see that Earth's axis is actually in the northern hemisphere tilted away from the sun. Because it's tilted away from the sun, it is getting less direct light and more indirect light. Because of the indirect light, it's cooler. And so in the northern hemisphere, we're experiencing winter. This is the winter solstice. And this takes place in December in the northern hemisphere. And so again, this portion of the orbit right here is winter for about 3 months. And then finally, up at the top here, we have, again, we're getting kind of a side-on hit from the sun. The axis is not tilted towards or away from the sun. It's kind of getting hit side-on. And as a result, we have that mixture, again, of direct and indirect light. This is going to be the spring or vernal equinox. And this takes place in March, at the end of March. So, again, finally, to close out our circle, this portion of the orbit right here is going to be spring, and that lasts about 3 months. So note that this was all for the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere is the opposite of the northern hemisphere. So whenever the northern hemisphere is in summer and the axis is tilted towards the sun, notice that the axis in the southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. So when it's summer for us in June, it's actually winter in the southern hemisphere. When it's winter for us in December, it's actually summer in the southern hemisphere. So pause on the screen to make sure that you have everything done. And then go to the second video.